This is Mac OS Ken.
Expectations ahead of Apple earnings, fun to unfun Vision Pro stories, and talking to a friend of mine about their Kickstarter project. It is Thursday, the 1st of February, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Today's will be kind of an unusual show. There are basically two things happening in the Apple world over the next 36 hours. The first is Apple's first quarter fiscal year 2024 earnings report and associated analyst call, and the second is the launch of the Apple Vision Pro. Today, I will tease the earnings report. We'll take a quick look at a few Apple Vision Pro stories. I'll tell you what I've heard about the Apple Vision Pro demo process. Then we will talk to a friend of mine. John Rokos has been listening to Mac OS Ken since before it was called Mac OS Ken. He's got a great project running on Kickstarter. OpenCase, it is called. OpenCase, all one word. And I am truly excited to tell you about it. That's partly because he's my friend, partly because the project is great, and partly because, just like you, he is a Mac OS Ken listener. And who doesn't want to do something nice for them? Let's start, though, with the earnings call. For what will who be looking and listening in Apple's December quarter earnings report and the call that follows? Cult of Mac has a few ideas. Citing stats on Yahoo Finance, the piece has consensus calling for revenue of about $118 billion. While that would be even with the same quarter a year ago, Cult of Mac says it would be an improvement since overall revenue dropped the 4 previous quarters in a row. The Street is looking for earnings per share of $2.10. That would be up significantly from the $1.88 the company reported in the 2022 holiday quarter. Of course, it should be. The 2022 holiday quarter was the one where Apple couldn't make nearly enough phones because of COVID closures at plants in China. Kind of makes one wonder why revenue would be the same then, but, well, maybe it won't be. Consensus has been wrong before. Lots of times. As for what's ahead, analysts will most definitely ask about iPhone in China. They'll almost definitely ask about Apple's recently announced and largely reviled DMA compliance plans for the European Union. They'll probably ask for any signs of a turnaround for the post-pandemic slump in Mac and iPad sales. And I really hope somebody gives Tim Cook a slow pitch right over the middle about Apple Vision Pro, spatial computing, and the world of tomorrow as seen by the company. We've done this for years, so you probably know, but I will tell you anyway. Apple's earnings hit after the closing bell today, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Half an hour later, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, Apple execs will hop on the horn, go more in-depth on the earnings report, then field questions from analysts about, now who knows, iPhone in China, DMA changes, what Tim Cook had for lunch maybe. You can hear that call as it happens through Apple's investor site. It will be made available as a podcast soon after. Bloggers will blog, posters will post, and we will hit points big and small right here tomorrow. You may think Apple Vision Pro looks heavy and cumbersome, but if you compare it to the things that Daft Punk used to wear, it's practically breezy. They don't have anything to do with each other, though each is reminiscent of the other anyway. Let us be lighthearted and merry today with our Vision Pro visions. We got years to treat it seriously. For fun on the Apple Vision Pro, a piece from Apple Insider says the game engine Unity has added support for Apple's headset for all of its paid developers. Following more than 6 months in beta, a blog post from the company informed Unity devs, you can now leverage Unity's familiar authoring workflows, robust XR tools, and cross-platform compatibility to create immersive spatial experiences for a whole new ecosystem on Apple Vision Pro. Thousands of developers around the world participated in our beta program, collaborating closely with our engineering teams and generously sharing knowledge to build a community primed for a new era of spatial computing. Oh, it's an era of unity. Should be fun. For less fun on Apple Vision Pro, a piece from Engadget says Microsoft Teams, Word, Excel, and other Microsoft 365 apps will be available for Apple's headset at launch. While that leans hard into the Apple Vision Pro ductivity angle, you couldn't wait till Monday on that? I kid. Mostly. Sounds like Mr. Softy really put their back into it, though. These aren't just slapdash remakes of correlating iPad apps, according to Engadget, as many have built-in tools that take advantage of the headset. For instance, PowerPoint features a custom immersive environment that allows users to practice delivering a presentation to an actual audience. Excel also takes advantage of visionOS, letting users quickly move documents to other apps by using the headset's pinch and drag functionality. Pinch and drag sounds like slap and tickle for 90-year-olds. The site goes through a few other 365 apps and the special advantage they take of Apple's spatial computer. Each of the apps will be available through the Apple Vision Pro App Store on launch day. For even less fun than that on Apple Vision Pro, it's baby's first security vulnerability. Headset's not even out yet, and TechCrunch says Apple has already issued a second update to visionOS. According to the report, visionOS 1.0.2 arrives with a fix for a vulnerability in WebKit, the browser engine that runs Safari and other web applications. Apple said the bug, if exploited, allowed malicious code to run on an affected device. The piece says this is the same WebKit vulnerability addressed by last week's slew of OS updates. In each of those cases, Apple said it was aware of reports that the vulnerability had been exploited in the wild. Engadget says it's unclear whether hackers use the vulnerability to specifically exploit Apple Vision Pro. Of course, they could just be patching a hole where they know there's a hole to patch. For positively no fun on Apple Vision Pro, we have half a reason why Netflix isn't going to be on the headset. A big deal has been made over the last week or two about the fact that the first name in streaming video will not have an app on Apple's headset, sending those who want to watch Netflix titles to watch on the headset's browser. Late last week, Upload VR had Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters kind of explaining the reason to Stratechery. While he says Netflix tries to be on every device and it's not unwilling to play on Apple's spatial computer, they also have to be very rigorous about what's the effort to integrate on any given set of devices and what's the benefit for the members that we serve. We have to be careful about making sure that we're not investing in places that are not really yielding a return, and I would say we'll see where things go with Vision Pro. That's sort of an answer, though as Upload VR points out, doesn't explain why Netflix isn't letting Apple Vision Pro run the iPad app that would, it seems, run perfectly well on the headset if Netflix would let it. Have a reason. Kind of explaining. Sort of an answer. For those of us not getting an Apple Vision Pro this weekend, we should still be able to get our hands on or heads in to Apple's special spatial jam. When the company announced pre-orders for Apple Vision Pro a couple of weeks ago, there were reports that Apple retail locations across the U.S. would be doing a weekend of demos. What we heard at the time was that there would be no reservations for those and that demos would happen on a first-come, first-served basis. But I was talking to a friend of mine this week who said a friend of his had an appointment for a demo. Well, this put me in a panic. Was there a way to sign up for a demo about which I did not know? So I messaged a friend who works at an Apple store and asked them, are Apple stores taking appointments for Vision Pro demos or just line up and we'll see you when we can? Their response to me, that, my friend, is the question of the day. I feel like the website says sign up online for your demo, but I don't really know how that's going to work out. So I think walking in and signing up to do a demo is probably your best course of action. Now, it's not like I thought my friend didn't know anything, but they pretty much said they didn't know anything, so I called my local Apple store and spoke to an associate there. She also knew about as much as my friend did. She confirmed what we had heard before. Stores are opening at 8 a.m. tomorrow to accommodate demos. She assumes that people will be able to sign up for a demo once through the door. She's heard that reservations for demonstrations will go live on store sites as of Friday morning, she said. Demo reservations are also supposed to go live Friday morning through the Apple Store app, according to the associate. I will say she was a lot of fun to talk to. In just over a decade with the company, the only product launch for which she has been present is Apple Watch. She expressed what sounded like genuine excitement over this weekend's launch, and that made me effusive. I told her that I think Apple Vision Pro is another iPhone moment. She agreed. Check back in 5 years. And now we come to the interview portion of today's show. So I've never had an iPhone case that solves a problem for me, except for the part where, you want them to protect your phone. That's ultimately, I guess, what a case should do. But I now have an iPhone case that solves a few problems for me. John Rokos is the guy who invented this. He's a longtime friend of mine. He's a longtime friend of the show. And he's got a Kickstarter going for OpenCase. That's what the case is called. John, thanks for being here today, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ken. Appreciate it. And happy belated 18th anniversary, man.
Yeah.
It's neat to be on this side of the mic with you after never having missed a single show over all these years. So this is neat.
Is that true?
Yeah, I listened to you starting with Inside Mac Radio, and when you disappeared, it was like weird. I'm like, what happened? And then blah, blah, blah. I looked for you, found you, I don't know, a month or a few months later, whatever it was, when you started the new show. And
yeah, only about, it's about a month and a half, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that trip down memory lane. Now let's talk about where you're going. Well, actually, cool. I want to talk about the case, and I want to talk about the Kickstarter in a minute. But first, let's do your journey. Your journey specifically as an entrepreneur. Just tell me, how you got from, well, I guess tell me where you were and how you got from there to here.
I'll start with Tesla because that's kind of where our journeys meet as well, which is kind of cool. So I started there when they were pretty young. Maybe they were a handful of years old. 2007, I was there were 197 people who worked at the company when I started there. I was the 343rd employee of all time. I was there for 6 years. Crazy journey. Obviously, an absolutely bonkers startup that's, exploded over the years. And that was a real heck of a learning lesson to be at a startup. Still were a decent amount of people there. To like when I left, there were over 6,000 people. I think now there are over 100,000 people at the company, and just being really energized by that, being in the Bay Area as well. Obviously, there's a lot of startups and entrepreneurship that's happening there like crazy. So you get a lot of energy from that, and it's just really neat to be a part of. And so when I left Tesla, I just kind of started. I said, you know what, I want to do my own thing. I've got a list that's a mile long, all these different ideas. Let's mess with some of them, and started with some early stuff with RSS feeds and this, that, and the other, and limited success. But you just keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying, and the latest one seems to, more than anything I've personally worked on in the past, been really gaining some pretty significant interest so far, which has been it's cool. I mean, you can try so many times, and it's nice when something starts to catch.
Yeah. What's funny is you say that you after you left Tesla, you had a list, a mile long. This is a thing that could not have been on that list because the thing you're addressing now didn't exist at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So when Apple launched MagSafe back in 2020, and specifically I think the MagSafe accessories, you say you saw a couple of problems right away. What were the two problems that you saw?
The two main ones were the thickness and the way it didn't really hold it very securely. So, you've got your MagSafe case that's on your phone, and then anytime you add a MagSafe accessory, it makes it thicker, right? If the one that most people know is the wallet, the MagSafe wallet, and if the wallet was sewn into the case, it would be thinner, or if it was molded into the case or whatever. And so it was like pockets get with these phones, and the phones keep getting bigger and bigger, things get bulky. So that was one of the big ones. And the other one, and for me, this was the one that was really, really the piece that tipped me over the edge, was how much the MagSafe accessories can move. Because we're on that flat surface, whether it's the bare back of your phone, your iPhone, or the nice smooth back of a phone case, they move around like crazy. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen just slip their phone in their pockets, and it just shaves the wallet right off, or whatever other accessory they've got. And that happened for me when I first got it as well. And I was just like, I got to do something about this. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. And that's why I wanted to ask you about the entrepreneur side of it, because the problems you're talking about, I mean, really honestly, are the things that ever stopped me from getting any of the MagSafe accessories. They're the kind of thing that I personally would sit around and say, gee, I wish somebody would fix that. And instead, you went, and I think you told me pretty much the first week you went and fixed it for yourself.
Yeah. I was watching the presentation. It was like October 2020 when they introduced the iPhone 12, and that's the ones that had MagSafe on them. And I was watching as live as an Apple presentation is anymore these days. I hit play as soon as it was available. And when it got to the MagSafe part, I was literally watching it, knowing that I've played with magnets my whole life, right? And when you try and pull them straight apart, that's hard. So the easiest way to get them apart is to slide them apart. So I'm watching this presentation, instantly thinking it's going to be thicker and it's going to slide off. And so when I'm ordering the phone, I'm ordering the case, I'm ordering the wallet, and when I get them, I'm going to put the wallet on the case. I'm going to trace it with a pen, and then I'm going to go in the garage. I'm going to cut that outline out with the jigsaw and see if it's better. And I lived with it for a week before, and it was, I love the convenience of it. I love MagSafe, but it was almost too convenient, especially that slidey around. And, with it being thicker, it catches on stuff. So after that first week, I was like, all right, let's do this. Cut the hole in it, and have lived with it ever since. And it's kind of amazing to me how well it works. But it took a while. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a while to then get to this point.
Well, that was the thing that was fascinating to me talking to you about this. I guess you and I talked about a week ago, and then you had emailed me a couple of weeks before that. I mean, you've been, I don't want to say you've been sitting on this idea for a while, but I mean, this is not like you didn't have an idea yesterday and now you're doing the Kickstarter. I mean, 2020 is a long time ago. You've been carrying it around for a while. I'll tell you, one of the things I really respect as well, I am also the kind of person who might, then call somebody and say, hey, why don't you do that? And you said when you were thinking about this, you thought about calling people and then thought, well, hold on a second. Why don't I do that instead?
Yeah.
And so now you've got this thing where you're trying to solve the problem for others through the Kickstarter. A couple things I want to point out. I mean, first of all, and this is crazy to me, this is one of those things that you're like, really? Nobody thought of this before? You've patented this.
Yeah. Patent pending. I guess it's
patent pending.
It is
okay.
Patented. The patent was granted in the EU and the UK.
Okay.
And in the US, the US and Canada, it's still pending. So
right.
I know, I always tend to think maybe more US centric. So I'm always like, oh, it's pending. But, I was talking to my patent attorney the other day and he said, don't forget, you did get it issued over in Europe. I was like, oh, that's right. So I'm making progress. Yes, making progress.
That's pretty cool. Well, I got to say, I mean, one of the problems you talked about initially, the bulk or the thickness, that's the thing that ever even kept me from trying the accessory. So I never got to the part where it's going to slide around because I just thought, well, my wallet's big enough already. Now, that was back when I was actually carrying a billfold. A few years ago, I switched over to one of those slimline wallets. I think it was Ridge wallet was actually advertising with me. And I really came to like the thinness of that. Thing is, now that most of my my health card is on my iPhone. Most of my payment information is on my iPhone. I know you said that you actually carry, sort of a bigger wallet sometimes, and this is your convenient, just in your back pocket thing.
Exactly.
Since you sent me the demo, this has been the wallet that I carry. It's the only thing.
Awesome.
I mean, just the thickness of it, or the thinness of it, I should say.
There you go.
And the fact that it just does not go anywhere. I was also amazed with the pop handle that you sent me, want to be careful to avoid any trademarks because it's not.
That's what I called it, the pop holder. I was like,
holder.
What are the words I can use? And,
okay.
Because I know that company, as many are, we know better than any Apple, right? Like, you got to be sensitive around certain use of words.
I was amazed, honestly, just how tight that holds on. Like last night, just before you and I started, knowing that we were going to talk today, I did the whole walk and talk on my nightly walk, just out there, that way out in front of me, and just doing my normal gait, and it's sticky like you stuck it on there.
Yeah.
Really, though, the reason, so obviously I like the thing, and obviously I like you, but the biggest reason I wanted to get you on here is because you're a friend, and if I can do anything to sort of hit my, macOS Ken crowd listeners, people, if I can hip the people that I talk to on a daily basis to another thing that I think is really cool, I want to try to do that. So here's this moment. You've got this Kickstarter going. I think it's going for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. Do me a favor, please. Let people know everything they need to know to find out more and hopefully kick in.
Totally. Yeah, the easiest way to check it out, if this sounds interesting to you, whether you're a MagSafe user who gets the problem, or you've been worried about MagSafe, so you're kind of like, I don't want to dip my toe in there because I can tell it will slide off, or like you're saying, Ken, it's thicker. Come check it out. I'd say the easiest way is to go to Kickstarter.com and do a search for OpenCase. Make sure you make that all one word. Kickstarter search is pretty bad. So if you do OpenCase as one word, you'll find it no problem. If you separate them into 2 words, you will never find it ever. It's that rough. If you want to just go to the website, I got theopencase.com. And if you go there, all the links immediately go straight to the Kickstarter. So because we're not doing any online sales until well after the Kickstarter is done, we fulfilled all the backers and got them all their stuff. So the website is there, but again, we point everybody towards the Kickstarter because that's the focus right now.
Okay, so theopencase.com if people want to just read the site. Go to Kickstarter.com and search for OpenCase, spelled like it sounds, but make sure it's all one word, right?
Yep.
And then I will also, at least for the next week or so, I'll have the link in the notes for macOS Ken, sort of the daily shows too. So I wish you the best of luck. I love just freaking going out there and doing it. And I love the fact that you're out there just freaking out there doing it. So hopefully other people will check it out. And I wish you well on the journey.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you having me on to share it. And I'm glad you dig it so far. Thank you, Ken.
macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.